Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's an amazing opportunity to get a chance to actually connect and share some of the work that I've been doing in this space. So, without much further ado, I'll just get started. So they say, your intro is the best part of your presentation, right? Like people are really, really tuning in to listen to your intro. So I have the best introduction that you could think of. So, let me just reveal it right now. So never mind, I was kidding. So the biggest thing that I wanted to first talk about is this is a talk where I will go through some of the concepts of designing commerce experiences for television. Roku is also working on this space, and I am the designer that's working in this space. But consider this talk as more of an industry overview. Think about it more like how does commerce actually work on TV, and what are companies in this space thinking about as they're exploring this new medium for commerce. So that's my big disclaimer. And, the actual star of the talk is actually now. So you can see that this is a very classic experience of the early 90s and the 2000s, right? So this is, for those who don't know, an online shopping channel, which is usually late night television, where you have discounts and new products that are discovered in an on streaming talk show. And the best part about this is that, this is such a native experience to shopping on commerce. Actually, people discovered new products and found new things to buy and offers through this. So if you were to actually think about this, TV was the original mode of commerce. And then, all the experiences of desktop and mobile and everything came along, and shopping gradually moved to these mediums. So what we're doing right now as a set of companies that are focused in this space is taking shopping back into TV, the original mode where it all started. So if you're thinking that this is actually a talk about the future, no, it's actually a talk going back to the past. And we're going to be talking about how the past is being reinvented to accommodate into the future. So for today's talk, we'll cover the following items. We'll talk about how people shop today. We'll talk about the role of television today, and then how these two worlds meet, and then we will conclude. So how do people usually shop? So shopping has evolved so much in the past decade and the past 2 decades, right? Like people actually went into stores and people loved that in-person experience. They loved the experience of touching and feeling items and actually shopping. But with the advent of the pandemic, things changed and things shifted more online. And that's what we actually see, right? So we see that about 49% of customers who are surveyed in countries favor online shopping. And this includes shopping from your mobile phone, your desktop, or what have you. This also means that they love the comfort of being at their home. They love the fact that the products are getting delivered to their doorstep. And they also love the easy return policy that a lot of these retailers have brought into play. So it's really this experience of being at the comfort of your home, experiencing the joys of shopping, but doing it from your couch. And 2/3 of shoppers said that they actually watched online video to get new ideas and inspiration. So these come in so many forms, right? People do YouTube videos, they do TikTok videos, there are tutorial videos, and then there are Instagram reels. There are influencers that use these products and promote them. But the biggest mode of consumption for these users is actually video. And which is the mode that plays the most video in your home? It is television, right? So people actually watch a lot of video content on TV, and that's where the perfect marriage of these two mediums of shopping and video shopping, especially, brings in TV in the forefront of the whole new frontier in shopping. So companies are really tuning into this. For example, you can see that Amazon recently launched the Amazon Live shopping experience, where you can have actually a person who tries on a product, gives expert reviews of product or something like that, more like an influencer. But you can see that these are stream channels right on the Amazon homepage. You can see that Instagram's doubling down on it, Facebook and TikTok, all of them are trying to take a piece of this video shopping pie. And they're all doing such a great job at it that they're creating this new frontier of shopping. And people actually feel more like they're experiencing things in store. They're able to see what a product looks and feels like. They're able to get expert opinions. They're even able to do virtual try-ons in some situations. There are some companies and startups that are working on that. So this space is evolving, and this space is evolving really fast. So now let's actually talk about the role of TV in this, right? So TV as such, when we think about it, it is the largest screen in your living space. And it's also a shared experience device, right? You mostly do not watch TV alone. It's usually a shared experience of watching a game or a series or a movie or what have you. And there are people that are watching at different points in the day, and there are a lot of people that build their days around TV. TV is usually the place where people go to when they're having dinner, when they actually retire back from a long day at work, and all of those things. TV has a very special meaning in every house, and there's also a very special reason why people actually gravitate to watch experiences on TV. So this means that when you're thinking about building shopping experiences for this specific medium, you're going to really have to think about what are the different considerations for designing on TV, right? And then on top of it, when you've designed for TV, the next step is designing a shopping experience for TV. So let's just walk through that. So you can see that with TV, the UI is very different. So you can see that most TV devices can range or be in your household for about like 10 to 15 years. People don't upgrade their TVs as often as they do their smartphones or their laptops or their computers. So it tends to be a device that is in your household for a longer period of time. This means that when you're really thinking about these older devices that are there in the market, your design considerations should take these evolving technologies into account. Which is why when you're designing for TV, you have this notion that is called as the safe area. With the safe area, you can see that there is a 90 pixel padding throughout your screen, and all the significant actions in your TV UI actually happens within this area. And this area is also considered the best for call to actions. For example, if you're trying to add buttons like watch more episodes or shop or whatever, you try to put it within this specific area so that it doesn't cut off and users can actually get to it quickly through the different modalities of remote interaction. And then this is the most fun part of designing for TV, right? You have so many devices, you have so many configurations of devices. They range all the way from the most outdated hardware to new and modern hardware that companies and platforms in this space are innovating in. But what's common across all of them are these directional D-pads. So you can see that your user is going to use that D-pad, which is this part of your remote, to go up and down or left and right. And this means that when you're thinking about navigation paradigms for TV, you really have to break it down into these being very, very simplistic experiences. You can see that's why most of the TV UI tends to have big, very cinematic UI, right? Like you can see big blocks of buttons, you can see big blocks of banners, movie banners or tiles, and row kind of UI that's front and center in TV design. And you can also see that here the primary call to action is usually nested within that safe area that we spoke about. And that's why you can see that a lot of the TV UI apps that you see follow somewhat of this paradigm in the real world. You can see here, right? So you can see that this row, these big dramatic rows, the focus state are all key important elements of designing for UI. Now let's actually break it down. How do users actually navigate in a TV UI? They use their D-pad to go up and down, but the primary UX principle that you'll need to nail when you're designing for TV as a TV designer is what's your landing focus state, because that's going to be the compass for the user. And that's why you can see that focus states gain the most prominence in most TV UI. You can see that there's always an element that has the default focus, and then to move down or up, that focus moves. So the focus is essentially taking your navigation from one part of the screen to the other part of the screen. And when you want to click and explore more details, there's the OK button that will take you into a transient view. And the thing again is that that next view is usually the final part of the experience, right? So we talk about three-step experiences on web and on mobile, but on TV, it's actually two steps. It's usually a first step and then the final step, and that's about it. So these provide very, very unique challenges when you're thinking about building shopping experiences for TV. And then finally, there's also this 10 feet UX consideration that the user comes from. We walk through the 10 feet UX considerations right now, but on top of all this, there is this context switch that's happening when you're encouraging users to shop via TV. And what's that context switch that I'm talking about? So when you're watching TV, you're usually laid back, you're cuddled in your blanket, you have your coziest PJs on, and you're in this like sift and consume mode, right? So there's usually very ambient lighting to not really get into the way, or your kids and toddlers might be running around the house. Whatever your context is, people are not really paying too much attention and leaning in too much into the TV viewing experience. It's mostly happening passively. What that means is when you're thinking about building shopping experiences for TV, you really need to transition the user from the passive, laid back state of I'm just going to consume content, or I'm just going to let content run in the background so that my kids can keep quiet, to actively engaging and buying the product, exploring the product and all of that. So that's the biggest challenge when you're thinking about designing these forms of interactive experiences on TV. The other part is also, what do the companies and brands have to gain from this, right? So TV has usually been the influencer medium, right? People get influenced by shows, people get influenced by actors. TV is the default influencer platform. So there is a lot of inspiration that people draw from television. And what this means for brands is this is actually the perfect place to make that connection and make that synergy. As put by the Walmart CMO, William White, you can see that, right when the user is influenced by, say, a particular piece of furniture that comes on a show, right when the user sees a particular promotion that comes for a product that they've been looking to buy, whether it's a beauty product or an everyday product or what have you, it's the perfect synergy of connecting the user from that moment of inspiration to the actual point of purchase. So brands are really thinking about shortening that distance between discovery and inspiration and finally actually purchase. So let's think about and let's look at how companies are actually doing this. As I told you, there are just so many companies in this space, and there are so many design considerations that they're actually playing with. And you can see that these are all happening in the exploration mode, right? There is still no source of truth. And that's what makes working in this area very, very exciting. This is a completely new frontier, though it's been around for such a long time, because people have changed in the current. And when we're building for the future, we want to build at least 10 years ahead and thinking and forecasting how people will be working or consuming these experiences maybe 10 years ahead. So here you can see this experience where, this actor or this person is actually playing on a piano, and you can see that the ad for that piano or for that device actually shows up right then and there. And here the designer is making a few assumptions, right? They're making the assumption that the user is not going to actively want to interact on TV, that they're going to actually be passive, and they would rather jump off to a different device and actually make that purchase decision or exploration decision of what is this product, it priced at, and stuff like that. So that's why you see that there's a QR code here. So the assumption from the designer side or this company side is that the user is actually going to go and pick their mobile phone, scan their QR code from the device or from their TV, and actually go and explore the product. And this is actually a very valid assumption to make in a place like TV shopping, because your TV is usually a social experience. What might be very, very interesting to you might not be interesting to your spouse or your child or your grandma. So that really makes the fact that we want individualized experiences while being there in the viewing context. So this is one space that companies are innovating and working hard towards, which is taking you to a different viewing context and letting you do your exploration or shopping in a different device or in a different viewing context. And here you can see some of the ads that Google is running right now, right? So this is a very, very interesting ad, because this actually acts or treats your TV like what I explained, a virtual billboard. So this treats your TV as a place for brand awareness, and you can actually get the price, and you can get the price of a particular item in this ad, but you will have to go pick up your phone and type corner.com to actually leverage this capability of easy delivery that they are advertising. And here you can see these experiences becoming more and more immersive, right? So you can see that there is this product, but if you want to order it, you can actually pick up your remote and maybe order it right then and there. So that's a very interesting experience where this is more integrated. But again, this company and this design team is making the assumption that users have their remotes readily available. And if we've done this dance around where's the remote, we know that that's actually a pretty bold assumption to make. And then in the final experience, you can see how this actually takes it even further, right? So this is an example of an ad that's run by Amazon, and you can see this connotation of a linked account here. So this knows that this is Linda's account, and they're advertising for this product, but you can actually go and add that product to your cart and check it out at a later point. Or, they know that these are the types of products that you've been shopping for in Amazon.com. So they could be serving relevant ads that are based on your interests or on previous purchases that they've made. So these are all just very, very interesting frontiers that companies are exploring in this space. And you can see that it's actually all over the place, right? They're making bets from everything happens in your TV that's connected to all the different devices that you're already using, that's connected to your account, that has your payment information too. I don't want anything to do with my TV. I'm going to do everything in a different device. So you can see that the range of experiences are so broad, and that's what makes this space a very, very interesting and a challenging space to work on. The truth is, one or all of these companies are going to figure it out at some point, right? But as they go through the testing phase and innovating phase of testing these different modalities, that's where you get to actually observe this product evolve right in front of your eyes. So in closing, I wanted to kind of talk about, how can design shape the future of commerce, right? So you can see that a lot of these problems of shopping on TV and bringing commerce experiences on TV at large is actually a design problem, because we don't really know what users are going to need and want. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to understand and assimilate what we know from different contexts of shopping and different contexts of user experience, that this is what users will need, and we're actually building this whole experience out. And you can see that design plays a front and center role in this form of experience. But I wanted to also just like throw this question to all of you about how can design play a much bigger role, especially when we're talking about a seat at the table, right? How can design influence product strategy, especially in these greenfield spaces which are evolving? And will people actually buy physical products on TV? I know this happened like 10 years ago. I know this happened 20 years ago. T-commerce or TV commerce is not a new experience, right? Companies and products and brands have been doing this for so long. But now the notion of TV ads or TV in general is something where ads come up and then that's about it. Will they want to actually go and change their mental model after like this long of a gap to actually buy physical products and goods from your TV than just subscriptions or TV channels? And what is the impact of video on shopping? We know that we love the touch and feel, and we really like to see products before we actually buy them. But will video actually supplant that experience? Will video supplement that experience? These are all questions that I'm really curious to know and find answers to in the upcoming days as I work on this. One of the things that I know from video is that video is a very, very powerful storytelling medium. And a lot of times brands actually want to tell their stories. And when brands want to tell their stories, and when customers are more inclined in listening to the overall brand story than just buying the product right now, which seems to be the trend that we're actually like moving towards, I believe that's where video shopping will actually start to play a bigger and bigger key role. For example, customers are becoming more and more brand conscious. They are becoming more environment conscious. They're becoming more like health conscious. They don't want to put a ton of junk or sugar in their bodies. They don't want to be polluting the environment and stuff like that. So that means that, or they're also becoming like very concerned about animal cruelty and things like that. So brands are really leaning into telling their story by hinging themselves to specific causes. And that's where I believe like video shopping, in addition to talking about the product, in addition to talking about the quality and the different aspects that will actually influence you to make the decision to buy the product, will actually kickstart and take off in the upcoming years. Finally, I wanted to talk about designing for TV and web. Web and mobile have so many interesting paradigms that they share, right? You have your click states, you have your detail states, and in the web, you have your hover state and stuff like that. With TV, you're limited by 4 buttons. You don't have the screen real estate of the user trying to and being able to use a mouse or your finger to click anywhere, anytime, in any way. And that severely limits you in terms of how you can design. But it's also a good thing because it really adds to focus in terms of how you're designing. So I wanted to understand, like, as you do this as a thought exercise, what are some aspects that come to your mind when you think about designing, especially these forms of very detailed experiences on television? With that, I'll end. Thank you so much. If you're interested in this type of content, definitely reach out, definitely subscribe to my newsletter. But I'm also very open to sharing the answers and thoughts and considerations for all these questions that I post. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and share your ideas and inspiration. I look forward to sharing from you all. All right.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's just some of the interesting bits that I picked up from that was I just never thought about the constraints of designing for TV and how you really have to think about it. I loved your example of where is the remote, because I never have the remote handy.
Yeah. So it's always interesting when we are thinking about these like different experiences, how they've evolved our whole thinking into design paradigms. It's not just about UI, it's about your context, it's about what you're doing on a day-by-day basis and how crazy is your household.
Excellent. So yeah, if anybody out there has any questions, please do just share them and I'll pass them along. But I'm going to start with one. And what I was thinking about is people have become a little bit accustomed with the internet to having a little bit more contextual ads being presented to them nowadays. And they can get a little bit, what I've seen is people get more frustrated when they see very irrelevant ads.
Right.
So, what is the solution to, as you were saying, TV is a social activity of multiple people with very disparate needs? So, is there anything that's being thought of there that how do you try to not piss people off by showing
Yeah.
them irrelevant ones, but it might be relevant to one person in the room?
Yeah, I'm sure, like, companies, there are some companies that have this unique leverage of knowing much more about you, right? For example, Amazon does, especially when you're linking your Fire TV to your Amazon account. They have a much broader context of your shopping habits, especially if we're talking about it in the context of shopping something on TV. They have that context, and that can help them actually build the right story and show you the right set of ads instead of what you see in the middle of live shows or live TV games and stuff like that. So I believe like that's a frontier that some platforms have the leverage of. In others, I believe like they're again like actively trying to invest in building this knowledge base, either through understanding your viewing habits or like there are different metrics that they can track to be able to get some sense of what you might be interested in and what your household might be interested in. So it is, to your point, a very interesting problem because it's this communal device, unlike the other ones. And I believe like that's where the challenges lie.
Great. Yeah, no, it does sound like it's an interesting space. And the other question that I had was, just blanked it there. It was around, yes, as a designer. So you're trying to balance user needs and business needs. So a user often doesn't want to be interrupted or see ads, and a business wants to show you ads and interrupt you because they want to make money. So how are you, as the kind of designer, trying to balance those needs? How are you trying to do that? And are you just leaning on the side of the business making the money, so let's show the ads? Or are you trying to balance it with the user needs?
Yeah, I think like, at least the way that that I've been thinking about this is this like a valid medium for people to make this type of commerce transaction in, right? And there have been so many times that person, and I know that this is just a bad way to design, but I'm just telling it as a story where I felt like, oh my God, I want that shirt. I really love that dress that she's wearing and stuff like that in a specific show. And I've really had like experiences like that when I've watched a specific, a home remodel show, or a particular attire that a person on TV is wearing and stuff like that. I'm like, I really want that outfit. I really want that specific gadget for my house and stuff like that. So at that point, right, that's where the message from the Walmart CMO really resonated, where they're really thinking about bridging that gap and offering that capability for users that might want to leverage that, right? So I feel like a lot of us have felt that way. We felt like we want to shop that specific look, especially with like fixer upper kind of stuff. I would go and buy everything that I see in that show. For those who don't know, it's a home remodel show where this beautiful couple can actually go and redesign your entire house. And I'm like, I want to do that for my house. I want to get all the stuff that they're showing. And you're really building those experiences for television, then really thinking about how much money is this going to make? It's about like bridging that gap pretty much.
Brilliant. All right, well, that's actually all we have time for now. But thank you very much again for sharing. I found it very interesting, and I hope everybody out there did as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.